Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Sharon and this is a channel that is dedicated to all things related to narcissism. I release new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on all types of topics related to narcissism. So if you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. I would really appreciate it if you gave the video a thumbs up. It's a free way you can help me out. And definitely don't forget to leave a comment because I like to read what you have to say. I'm going to begin today's video by telling you about a dream I had 2 nights ago. I had a dream that me and Joe and our 4 kids were in Israel. It was the last day of our trip and I was panicking because I had forgotten to buy any souvenirs. So the 6 of us were racing around trying to buy me like a t-shirt that says Israel or something. Joe and I have a dream that one day on our honeymoon, hopefully, we're going to go to Israel and we're going to get baptized in the Jordan River. So when I had that dream, I thought, I almost feel, like I do feel this way, that God gave me a vision of something that was going to happen in the future. And I felt better. The day before, Joe had taken me out for a long ride and we talked in the car and he really helped me feel better. So I feel between Joe and God, he got me to a better place where I can talk to you about what's really been bothering me. It's sometimes difficult to express pain. It's easier for me to talk about things I've gotten through, or things that I feel positive about. When I feel, it's not easy to share this. One of the worst things that I had to deal with this whole divorce was losing my home. I lost my home. And in today's video, I'm going to tell you about that. So I actually tried to make this video like last 2 times. Well, I guess Wednesday and then last Friday. I was so distraught. I couldn't function well enough to make a video. So I think I can now because I had that dream and because Joe helped me. But hopefully I can get this out without crying or without, being too dramatic. When I make my videos, all of this is happening in real time. This is really happening to me right now. This isn't something that I read about or something that happened to me 10 years ago. This is right now. One of the most difficult parts of this whole situation for me was losing my house. I lived in terror. For the last 2 years, I was with my ex, terror every day, every month, I had to pay that mortgage. And we had a big mortgage, $3,187.50 every month. My ex wasn't living in the house the last 2 years. At the beginning, he did pay a good amount of the bills. As time went on, he didn't. I went back to work every month to pay that mortgage. To get propane was unbelievably stressful. Was I going to be able to heat my house? Was I going to get kicked out of my house? I mean, these are things that I was thinking of on a regular basis. And on top of that, I didn't want to get rid of my house. I loved my house. And I was so afraid because I knew if I filed for divorce, my ex would be moving back into that house. It was only God that kept him from coming back to that house those last 2 years. There's no other reason. My guess is that towards the end of the entanglement, he was in such a bad place mentally that when I called the police, they just got him out of there. And he, at one point, tried to get me arrested for abusing him. It wasn't true. He made it up, but he really tried to get me arrested. The police turned against him, and then he ended up getting in trouble because he stole my phone. So I really think the only reason he stayed away was because he was afraid that if he came back, I would call the police again. He had been dragged out of that house with a cop on each arm, pulling him out while he was yelling and screaming. One time the cops came to the house and took him straight to a mental hospital. So I think he was afraid. But I was afraid too, because if I initiated divorce, he'd be back in that house. Like I know he would have been. And if I didn't pay the mortgage, what was he going to do? I was going to lose my house. It was so traumatic, you guys. It was horrible. I didn't want to get rid of my house. I love that house. It's my house. Now, some weird, spooky stuff has happened in that house too. And when I was talking to my son the other day about this, it did make me feel a little bit more determined that, you know what, I need to leave that house. So my ex and I had a mediation in June. I haven't really told you guys exactly too much about what happened during the divorce, what the final result was, and I will. I'm going to talk to you about the house today. We had a mediation in June, and during the mediation, my ex, he's living in the house, he said he was going to put the house in the market July 15th. That was what he was going to do. He didn't. July 30th came and he was going to do it then. He didn't. Now, guess what? It's August 15th. Nope, nothing. This has been one of the, if you're going through a divorce or about to, keep in mind, anything that they say they're going to do, even if they sign a paper, is not enforceable unless you take the person to court. And if you take the person to court, my attorney told me it would be minimum $10,000. And then on top of that, the trial, the agony of that, would be months away. She said maybe even a year away. So there's no quick fix. When my ex didn't put the house on the market on July 15th, there was nothing I could do. Nothing, not one thing. Didn't put it on. Finally, he put the house on the market. And you want to know what the real estate agent told me? This stabbed me in the heart. It was so painful. He said to me, "Oh, too bad you didn't put it on the market a few months ago. If you had put it on the market in July, it would have sold for at least $200,000 more than we're going to list it for today." I could barely speak when he said that. Joe and I have been left devastated financially from these narcissistic entanglements. He lost everything. So did I. We don't have this big fat stash of savings. We don't have a savings at all. We are literally starting over, completely over. Having $100,000 more would be life-changing money. I mean, just to think about that. I don't want to sit here and say that Joe and I, can't eat or something, but we don't live a very extravagant life. There's 5 people that live in our house, our 3 kids and Joe and I. We have 1 car. Maybe we'll say 2 because Joe has this, he calls it the hoopty. Like, I don't know, some beater car. You can't drive it very far. So we can't drive it far, can't go anywhere really, except maybe to the grocery store. And even then, we're always afraid it's going to break down. So oftentimes I walk back and forth to work, especially on Tuesdays and Thursdays because Paris goes to college those days. And I told her, you're going to college. Like, there's no way that you're not going to go to college because we don't have a car. So Joe and I, we walk places. And it's not the end of the world. But the reason I'm telling you this is because we could have used that money. We could have bought another car. We could have had just something so that we could do things with the kids, or it would have been fantastic. We're paying the mortgage and the bills. Like, that's what we're doing. We're trying to get ahead, But as it is, just right now, that would be life-altering money. And there's no repercussion for him. There's a couple of bad things that happened during my divorce. Like I said, I am going to talk more about them, but just so you understand where I'm coming from. My ex has a huge credit card bill that he hid from me. I didn't know he had it. Guess what? I have to pay half of that. I lose the $100,000 and I still have to pay. It's not like, well, you didn't put the house on the market, so now she doesn't have to pay half of your credit card debt. No, I still have to. My ex gave up his son. I have 1 minor child. When I say he gave him up, he didn't terminate his parental rights. That didn't happen. But I got everything with my son. I raised him 100%. I pay for everything. My ex pays a minimum of child support, which he fought to have to pay. He fought to have to give me extra for our son if he gets a raise or he gets a bonus. He refuses to put his own kids on his life insurance policy. My ex has $1 million life insurance policy. I used to be the beneficiary of that. I would assume that my children are now. What parent doesn't put their child as a beneficiary? Like I get it if you give it to your spouse first, but if you don't have a spouse, how can you not give it to your children? He's giving it to his parents, his elderly, wealthy parents. He's giving his $1 million life insurance policy. He agreed, finally, this is one of the only things my attorney fought for, to have a life insurance policy worth $30,000 in case something happens to him that will benefit my son. Like, that's it. So this is what I'm talking about. He has this 6-figure job. He still has it. I didn't work for 20 years. I am starting over. Joe and I are starting over. And that's fine. We got out of those entanglements and there's a price to pay. But when I think about what I lost because of him, and that's not even talking about the last 20 years. So I lost at least $100,000 on the house, still paying his credit card debt. Oh, also I forgot to tell you, my ex doesn't have any contact with his son, but guess what? Because he pays the minimum in child support, which he just started paying in August, now he gets to claim our son on his taxes. Joe and I thought that because Joe was dealing with this too, the taxes with his ex, she claimed his son first last year and it was a big problem. And he's afraid she's going to do it this year too, although he's officially divorced now, so that might be different. But taxes have hurt Joe and I too, because we thought that the person that lived, that the person the child lived with the most, like 51% of the time, even if it was like, all right, he was with me one extra day, I get to put him on my taxes. No, if they pay child support, they can do it. So my ex gets put our son on his taxes. He lost me over $100,000 on the house. I still have to pay his credit card debt. It's insane, you guys. That's been hurting me. Losing that money on the house, and not just that, having to give up my house. That was one of the most painful things I had to do. It ripped me to pieces. There was a time, a long time, I literally didn't think I could do it. I cannot do it. I felt that way. If it wasn't for Joe really carefully helping me, talking me into, all right, you can't stay under any circumstances. I don't know what I would do. I don't know. I don't know if I would just like refuse to leave. The police have to come and take me out. I didn't want to get rid of that house, you guys. I just didn't. I love that house. It was my home, you know? And somebody recently made an offer on the house, and I made the mistake of reading what they wrote, and it said something like, you know, my clients love the house, and they think that their two boys will have a great life there. They love the bedrooms. And like, even now, when I tell you this, I feel that in my stomach. Those are my kids' rooms. I painted meticulously on Paris's walls, striped it, dark pink, hot pink, like these stripes on the wall. It took me a long time to do that. My yard is filled with the flowers I planted. You know, my daffodils are going to come up. My tulips are going to come up. Everything else in my perennial garden is going to come up. My chicken coops in the backyard. My animals that passed away are buried in that backyard. That was my house. At the end of the day, I couldn't stay. I couldn't afford $3,187.50 on my own. And the reality is, even if I could have, there was no way my ex was going to let me have the house. He wouldn't just give it over. There's no way. Even if I had the money to buy him out, I don't think he would, because of revenge. He's not going to let me and Joe and our kids move into that house. So it wasn't going to happen. It was not going to happen. So that's what's been bothering me a lot lately. And actually, the house, I think it might have sold. I'll let you guys know. Somebody put an offer on it last week for $60,000 less than we have it on the market for. The real estate agent wanted us to cut it down, to cut it off $50,000. I told him, no, I'm not doing that. The house hasn't been on the market that long. So my ex and I agreed to cut the price down by $25,000. Somebody else put an offer in, and I might know today or tomorrow what goes on with that, but as it is right now, it's possible that it's sold. But if it sells by that amount, it's $250,000 less than I could have gotten in the summer. That is, guys, like, and that's one of the things. It's like, we lose so much when we're with these narcissists. I lost 20 years. You know, I lost my home. I lost money. I lost a career. You know, my ex and I agreed. I was a stay-at-home mom. I did all the kids. I raised them. And then, you know, my ex went to work. Now, that's not for everybody, but that was what we agreed to. That's what we did. I did that. It's not like he's not paying me alimony, by the way. He doesn't pay me alimony because I live with another man. So I lose all that because of what I went through with my ex. I'm starting over, you know, and I try to tell myself, okay, it's okay. It's okay. Like, would you rather be in the position that you are, or would you rather still be with your ex? Because the reality is, you know, when I left him, I said to Joe, he's like, all right, what do you expect to get? What do you want to do? I told him, and I meant it, the most important thing, what I must have above everything, if I lost everything else, I needed full custody of my son. That is non-negotiable. I mean, that's why we left the way that we did, because if I filed for divorce or he did, I would have been stuck in New Hampshire. I wouldn't have been able to move forward. I wouldn't be able to live my life. We would have been destitute, because I would have had nothing, no money from that house coming in or anything. We had to leave like that to protect my son. And I did. I have full custody of him. He has nothing to do with our son. The only thing is he pays child support so that he can get a tax refund. Other than that, I do have my son. I have 100% of the decision making, which I'm surprised he even gave those things up, because that is a way for him to have some control over me. But he did. He gave me everything. So I got what I wanted. I'm free. I got away. I don't have to live with him anymore. I got my kids away. We're able to start over. But with that said, some of these losses really, really, really pile up, and they sometimes become too much. You know, Joe has told me before, and this does offer me some comfort. So if you're in a situation like this, think about anything that makes the narcissist hurt that you did. You know, you left the narcissist. That destroys the narcissist. Nobody leaves a narcissist. Joe said to me, you know what, Sharon? There's nothing in his life ever that will compare to what happened when you left. Right under his nose. I mean, my ex was stalking me, harassing me. He broke into the house, like all these things. I got out. I passed the state line. I did it. He's like, nothing will ever, ever compare to that. When I left, my ex was sending me these texts. All right. And this is what the texts were saying. It was something along the lines of, where are you? Are you at the house? I went to the, he's like, I checked the chicken coop out. You're not there. Where are the chickens? Do you have the animals? Are there animals in the house? Where are the kids? You didn't have a Christmas tree up? So he's in, like, looking through the windows. You don't have a Christmas tree up? What were you planning? Did you pay the mortgage? I mean, this was all the things he was saying. It came as a complete shock. And I'm not really somebody that's hell-bent on revenge, but when I feel really bad, it gives me some source of comfort. So think about that with yourself as well. Is there anything that gives you some source of comfort? And don't forget, what is your real goal in life? Is it to get free from the narcissist, or are you trying to make the narcissist pay things to you, get revenge? For me, I wanted the opportunity to start over, not to be trapped in hell with a psychopath. I wanted my kids to be free. I wanted my animals, and I have all of that. You know, Joe set up an area for my chickens in his garage. He has a big garage, and we set it up with hay and everything. He did that for me. I got every animal out. Everybody's safe. Everybody's starting over. But the loss sometimes becomes, or it feels too much. One thing that has really helped me, and I've seen this with myself and with Joe, when you are really upset, when you feel you can't get through this one more second, hang on. Grit your teeth and hang on. It gets better. It always does. The end result is you are free. You got out. Anything else you can handle. I mean, think about how much we handle when we're with the narcissist. Without the narcissist, man, life is up to us now. All right, I hope I got this out okay in the video. I just want to catch you guys up. I'm hoping to make a video with Joe over the weekend. I think so. So we'll be back on Monday. Very grateful to you guys, and I still have to release my Paris video, so I'll talk to you guys about that. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support and your love. I really appreciate it. I will see you guys soon. Bye.